everyone, welcome to another edition of Métis Warrior here with Timothy and Alexandria.
Hello everybody.
And so today we're going to talk about the homelessness situation in Métis communities. Today is specifically Alberta.
Conklin, Alberta.
And it is a damn shame with all the millions of dollars to have homeless Métis. Why in the hell do we have Métis organizations when the money is not making it to the people in need? This is the question we ask today. We have a homeless Métis living in Conklin, Alberta by the name of Grace Richards. She's going to be joining us, and you're going to hear her interview real quick. Right, come on.
And if what Grace Richards tells you doesn't shock you to the core, I don't know what will, folks. There is no reason a Métis person in Alberta, Conklin, Alberta, should be homeless.
So here it comes. Listen to the interview, folks. Okay, we have Grace Richards from Conklin, Alberta. And so she's joining Métis Warrior to speak out against some of the things that's going on and let people know some of the things that's going on out there. And so, Grace, we'd like to welcome you to the show.
Thank you for having me.
I think, Grace, it's really important for everybody out there to know what's going on the front lines and how serious the concern is about homelessness, etc. Because with Indigenous Métis people, even in Winnipeg, there's a huge problem with homeless people living on the street, and then we have governments, Métis governments or Métis organizations that are not addressing the problem. Yet, a lot of these organizations, they get millions and millions of dollars, and it's not being distributed properly. If you could maybe sort of tell our listeners a little bit about your story so they could better understand.
But before we go into that, Grace, if we could you tell us, you fall under the Fort McKay Métis out there?
No, I don't.
Okay, so then you're just a member of the MNA, is that correct?
I'm a member of the Métis Nation of Alberta, but we also have a local in our community, Local 193.
Okay, so you're a member of Local 193. Okay, great.
Okay. All right, go ahead, Grace.
Okay. About 4 or 5 years ago, I started advocating on the homelessness situation within our community. One of the questions that I had myself when I started is, our community is surrounded by oil industry. We are right in the middle of 7 plant sites right around us, and I know the community has millions of dollars coming into this community, and we are no further ahead when it comes to housing than we were 4 or 5 years ago.
Right.
And you would think that with all the money coming in that there would be plenty of money to help the Métis people in Alberta. I mean, I'm just shocked that we're not seeing that. Have you seen any funding come from the MNA at all to you?
No, and this is another thing that baffles me is with our Métis Nation, they were giving $500 million to be allotted to the homelessness situation within the communities of Alberta. They knew and they received our report on the living conditions of people within my community.
Right.
And they put that money towards addressing the issue and helping other Métis citizens with the homelessness situation. But not one person in that homelessness report, the Conklin homelessness report, benefited from any of those programs.
Wow, that's shocking. Is there a reason? Do you think there would be a reason, Grace, why individuals in Conklin kind of would be shunned? Is there something going on with Conklin as a whole where they don't want to give any kind of money to a real concern or a real dire situation?
I'm not sure the reasoning behind it, but I do know that the 4 programs that they did put in place to address some of the issues with some people, like I said, none of those programs helped any of those people in that homelessness report in Conklin.
Let me ask you this question, Grace. Is your local 193 there? Are they getting money from the M&A at all?
Yes, they do. The Métis Nation, the provincial, do distribute money to the regions, which in turn distribute to the locals when it comes to government funding. And some of the funding, some of the agreements that our local were made without the provincial or the regional, but locally with the surrounding industry. Now, Synovus, just this past winter, spring, decided they were going to put $10 million into the community in regards to addressing the situation with the people in this community, and that's $2 million a year for 5 years.
Right.
So, yeah. So, but we still haven't seen anything. We have another.
Can I, real quick before we move past that, can I get a number on how many Métis is homeless out there? A rough estimate?
Oh gosh, in the survey that we did, it's over 50% of the population of this community.
And how much would that be in people? I don't know what the population is there, but how many people would that be?
We have 298 people in the community.
So we're talking about maybe then a little less than 150 people are actually homeless. Is that correct?
Yes. There are different, I don't know if you're familiar with Jesse Thistle and his work.
Yes.
There are seven different types of homelessness.
Right.
Now, a lot of these people here are living in homes, but the homes don't belong to them.
You know what though? What's aggravating me, Grace, is because I'm stuck on that number of $2 million a year for 5 years going into the community, and we're talking about a little less than 150 people are homeless. Good God, with all that money, nobody should be homeless there.
Yes, exactly. Not to mention the other monies that have come in to this community for this. When you look at it, it is a small amount of people. When you look at the big picture, the industry that surrounds our community, this is totally unacceptable. It is not right.
Yeah, because
we have
seven plants, you said.
Right beside us, not to mention the ones that are further north.
And the thing that's getting me here is obviously that money's not going where it's supposed to be going, so people are clearly doing things with that money other than helping the people out. And what's concerning me here is that you have organizations popping up in Alberta to try to compete, so to speak, with the M&A, but it's all for greed. If there was one organization that actually wanted to help the Métis people, I mean, good God, homelessness should be taken care of first, especially in your area with that much money and that less people. There's no reason with that much money everybody can have a home bought for them that is homeless right now.
Exactly. Like when you look at it, I've been doing research for myself and trying to find out some homes, the cost of homes for people in my situation. Now, I looked at a garage package here just last week, and that cost $3,000.
Right.
$3,300, I believe. And so for $3,300, I mean, out of that 2 million, you'd still have enough money to be able to insulate, materials to make it livable.
Right.
But the thing that it's kind of difficult, we're caught in the catch-22, is because there's no property. So, like I said earlier, a lot of these homeless people in this community are living with family members under the same roof, grandparents, parents, adult children still living at home.
Right.
And their kids. So you got one family here that have 5 generations under one roof.
Wow.
That's one family. Yes. So and in order to be a little bit more comfortable, a little bit more independent, a lot of people have chose to live in campers and put little porch additions to make it a little bit bigger,
Right.
But it's still not their property. It still belongs to other people's property, like family properties, right?
Right.
Like you can have one family have 1, 2, 3, 4 campers on their property as well, living off their parents' property.
Right.
And that actually,
campers.
Grace, I just did the math on the calculator here. If you take $2 million and you divide it by the 150 people that are homeless in your area, that equals over $13,000 that really, and you were talking about that one garage apartment being $3,000, but we're talking about $13,000 that each person could get to help with their homeless situation. And unfortunately, people are just pocketing the money, obviously.
Yes. We have a community program every year.
Right.
That is a home renovation program. And this home renovation program it's very unfairly distributed.
Right.
The money that comes from this home renovation program is money from agreements made by the Métis local. So this is profit share.
Right.
So they distribute this in the form of renovation. Now what they do is they phone Home Hardware. Okay, put this one on the list for this X amount of dollars.
Right.
So people like us that live in homes like this, we might get $1,500.
Okay.
I know one year we got $750. One year we got a $50 gift card.
Right.
And meanwhile, the homeowners receive like $4,000. And if you own more than one property, if you have more than one property in your name, you get for each property.
Wow.
And I do not understand the reasoning behind this, because if I was to get the full $4,000, like I said, I could have bought myself a little garage package here and fixed it up.
Exactly.
Exactly.
Yeah, but yeah, so you got homeowners that are. I'm sorry. I just don't see the justification in them getting $4,000, and people like us who really need it are getting $1,500.
Well, you know what you're saying, Grace, is absolutely true. I mean, the money should be distributed on a case-by-case basis, where, by an individual basis. I mean, good God, if somebody's got 4 properties, what the hell would they have to get all that money when you have an individual that, is just struggling? The scales are tipped. It's not equality. It's not evenly. It's not being distributed by need.
Exactly, it's not. When they go to the bargaining tables with industry, they don't sit there and say, okay, the homeowner's name is more important or more valuable than yours, Grace.
And
they bring us to the table as a collective.
Right.
Well, what we're gonna
so
what
collective we should be given there should be fairness in the distribution of the funds.
Right, and here's the thing: as a homeless Métis, and you're living in your area out there, one of the things that we're going to make sure happens is that the Canadian government, the people that need to hear this, is going to hear this show. And I want to make sure that they're aware that instead of giving these new organizations that are popping up out there money, so more people can just pocket this money, they need to hold accountable the organizations that they're giving the money to right now. And these people that need the money need to get the money. And so we can't be just having 4 or 5 different organizations popping up there because they see that they can make a lot of money ripping off the Métis people, which is what's happening in Alberta right now. We're going to deal with that on a different show. But the thing is, the M&A needs to be accountable. There's no reason why in your area there should be 150 homeless people there when each person, if you break down the 2 million, would qualify for 13,000, and all you really needed was the 4,000. And this is a shame.
Yes, our community is made up of more than just one board. We have our Métis local board, our Conklin Community Association, which is a municipal board, a CRDAC, Conklin Resource Development Advisory Council, and they claim to be the main board in the community. And we also have the CCES, where all the money goes into, and then there is another board which is just solely for the purpose of the money that's in the bank for the CRDAC.
Right.
So what they've done was CRDAC purchased, I believe it's 4 properties from the municipal government, because our community is a hamlet. So, and with those 4 properties, Cenovus is going to put Métis homes on CRDAC property. This to me doesn't make sense.
Right.
When Cenovus made this agreement and with Conklin, they specifically made the agreement with the Conklin Local 193.
Right.
Not Conklin Local 193 and CRDAC. Now, the CRDAC is a board, but to me, it is more like a business disguised as a board.
Right.
The community members in this community are shareholders of this board. But we are not treated as such.
Let me ask you a question, Grace.
So,
have you asked the local there where the money is going?
I have many times.
What's the response you get?
Many times. It's going back into the community. Well, if it is, where? So they told me that it goes into the CRDAC bank account, which I don't believe is right, because that money is supposed to be for the Métis. The CRDAC board, it's everybody in the community, whether you're First Nation, whether you're Caucasian, whether you're Métis. But that money that goes into the CRDAC is supposed to stay with the Métis.
Right. Exactly. And so they basically...
So we got these housing...
Have you ever seen a financial report?
Yes, I have, but not on paper. They agreed to let me view it in the office and went through it with me, but because of FOIC, which FOIC can work their way or my way too, 2 ways. They would not let me see a lot of things. Like, I could not see where the honorariums were going, how much was distributed in honorariums, and who was getting what.
Right. Yeah.
And also with the CRDAC board. Now, this I know for sure, because they told me themselves. Was just that year they started to pay taxes. Prior to the 7 years of them collecting funds into the CRDAC board, they were not paying taxes.
Wow, okay.
So you got a lot of this money, honorarium. No wonder why these people are do not want to leave their seats. We have leadership in this community that have been sitting in their leadership roles that are in their 70s and which should take their proper place as elders in the community.
That's right.
But they still, yes, they want to hang on to their seats.
Because
and with making that kind of money, I guess I would too.
Exactly, because it all comes down to the money. It's not coming down to the people. And I mean, if you're a member of a local, you have every right to ask and to view the books. I mean, that's the whole purpose of being part of a local, is that's one of your rights for transparency and accountability. I mean, they should have no problem allowing you to see where every single dollar is going to. And time again, whether it be in Manitoba, Saskatchewan, Alberta, or what have you, it seems like when people start asking to see where the money is going to, there's so many roadblocks, there's excuses, people are slapped with lawsuits, defamation, and all this for trying to seek truth. And the way I view it, Grace, is the Canadian government is suppressing us, but then we have our own governing bodies, our own locals or a Métis government keeping us suppressed as well, because we're just a number. We're just a number to gain funding. So in their eyes, I don't think we have a right to ask for anything, because we're just a number. We're not an individual.
Yes, exactly. I know when I did ask our Métis locals for to see the financials, I wanted to see the books. I was told that the books were held in Fort McMurray, and that if I wanted to see the books, the cost would come out of my pocket to see the books.
But why would it? Well, like most books and stuff like that, I mean, we're in the virtual age. Why would you have to travel when everything is done digitally, or accounts are done on the computer? I mean, I have an accounting background, over a 25-year accounting background. Everything was kept on computers. So I don't know why you would have to travel when they could just send you the documentation via computer.
Exactly. Like, what is it that they don't want me to see? That's my thought.
And here's a point I'd like to make. These people that are sitting in these positions, they represent the Métis people. And there should be no secrets from the members at all, because they're getting money for the Métis, supposedly, but they seem to be putting it in their personal bank accounts and doing God knows what else with it. But there should be no secrets. It should be 100% transparency to every Métis under these organizations.
You would think, because that is one of the bylaws within our Métis Nation.
Well, you know what, bylaws we're finding out with a lot of our organizations really don't mean squat. And I mean, I read a lot of things on social media, and I read something, this was back in 2019, and it pertains to the Mackay Métis group, and here they're saying they had another great year, and they're thanking their industry partners that participated in a trade show, Imperial Oil, PetroChina, Husky, TransCanada, Enbridge. I mean, wow. And you've got people in Conklin that are homeless. I mean, what would anybody have to be saying another great year when you have Métis people in Alberta that are homeless? I mean, what kind of screwed up thing is that?
Yes, I understand what you're saying, but I understand even more because I'm living it.
Right.
Yeah, it's really tough when you have the minority that controls the Métis, the majority. Like, this is happening in the federal government as well, and it's no different within the provincial, the regional, and the local levels. And in speaking in my community, yes, we have a minority here that dictates to us. So it's it's a tough situation, and right now we're even behind in elections.
Right.
Our elections should have taken place November last year, 2019.
Right. If you could say anything to Carolyn Bennett and Justin Trudeau, what would you say to them?
What would I say to them? You guys need to really look at the situation here in our community with the people, the way the people live, and us being surrounded by industry. We know that millions come into this community, but here's people living like me, without homes on other people's property, who are in desperate need of the same amount of money that homeowners get, which is $4,000, and I get $1,500, and I have to make do to try to winterize my home. I have no wood stove. I use an extension cord to the house next door, and that's the only power that I have. I have no running water.
Wow.
Now, I know if I was getting $4,000 a year, I know my living conditions would be a lot better. But that is still peanuts compared to the millions that are coming into this community.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. And I mean, again, while you're sitting there living like you're living, we got these so-called leaders out there going wherever they want to go, staying in the best motels, eating at the best restaurants, living whatever the way they want to live off the Métis dollar, and they're not giving it to the people, which is a shame.
And I mean, I think the statement that has to be said here, and I mean, this statement rings true, and it has to be Métis people before profit. And I really think the sense of people has been lost. I mean, it's all about dollar signs, and there's no way in heck, Grace, that you should be living, or anybody else should be living like that when you're surrounded again by industry, and the Métis Nation of Alberta, and then being distributed to the locals, are getting millions and millions of dollars. I mean, this is it's an atrocity that people in this day and age in Canada, that it boasts, I mean, they're helping immigrants and whatever, that's their thing or whatever, but we got to look after our own people. I mean, Métis people should not be living like this in this day and age, again, like you said, surrounded by oil companies, industry. I mean, that's a shame.
Yes, it is a big shame, especially when you have people out there calling the oil industry credible oil.
Let me ask you this.
Now, when you look at the situation that we're living in, how do you call this credible oil?
Exactly. Let me ask you this. Out in your community there, is there any other forms of corruption that you've seen happen within your local or the MNA specifically?
Yes, we have financials that are done that are, according to the bylaws, they're supposed to be audited financials, like professionally done, which costs thousands of dollars for the financials each year. Every year they show us unaudited financials and then ship those off to an accountant. And the accountant in return does them up based on the information. The last set of financials that they presented to us was over a year ago. Those are past due. Nothing is ever on time. And in those financials, it did not show where the money was coming in from.
Wow.
What about, is that, other than the financials, is there any other forms of corruption that you've seen out there? Because we've heard a lot of things that's going on in Alberta, and I was just wondering if you specifically know of anything other than the financials.
Yes, our last election was a fraudulent one, and it was brought to the attention of the provincial leadership, but never went anywhere. I have letters from people that that voted without Métis cards.
Right.
And yeah, so here is one. I so-and-so attended the Métis election in 2015 in Conklin, Alberta. I did not have my Métis card at this time. I witnessed others without Métis cards being vouched in so they could vote. When I asked someone to vouch for me, they flat out refused me. So-and-so told me I could not vote because I had no Métis card. What I would like to know is why did some members get to vote without Métis cards and I was not allowed to vote? So, and this election was brought right up to the provincial top.
Right.
And nothing was done. Now, that election was a year past due. So now we've got this election, which is almost in November, it will be a year past due, which will make it 2 years past due.
Okay, let me...
And when I did address the situation of the election, the postponement of the election, I was told by provincial leadership that they had the authority to push for the election. Now, if they had that authority, and this was discussed in February, this past February,
right,
in regards to the election. So, and here we are in September, almost at the end of September, and we still have not had an election. I have contacted on many occasions our region president in regards to the election, but he claims that there's someone into the provincial office that's supposed to be taking care of this. So I've made a couple of phone calls already in regards to the name to find out why are we not having our elections.
right,
Now, one of the things that the region president did mention to me is because we don't have a place to have the election.
right,
I said the CRDAC building, the Conklin Resource Advisory, the CRDAC building is big enough to accommodate people coming for an election. But they would refuse to open it because our multiplex is not open.
okay,
Our multiplex is not open because the municipality would have to foot the bill to have the multiplex running. It is not because of COVID that it is shut down. It is shut down, still remains shut down because Conklin cannot sustain the cost of keeping the multiplex open.
right,
So the CRDAC says, well, okay, well, the multiplex is not opening, then we're not going to open.
Well, Grace, let me ask you a question. Do you feel that the MNA president, the Métis Nation of Alberta's president, is accurately representing the Métis people there, the actual president of the MNA?
Not for Conklin, not in regards to the situation of no election. Because I did speak with her myself, and it was her words that told me that she does have the authority to push for an election within our community.
Yeah.
So if
Audrey Portras.
there is, you can definitely see there's something wrong with this picture.
Yeah.
No
now,
kidding.
if she was there for the people of this community, do you not think that she would have the election?
Yeah, I think she would have the election, and also I would think that she would make sure that since they're getting $2 million a year, that she would make damn sure out of the $13,000, over $13,000 that each person could get, the 150 people, that at least they would get half of that a year. I mean, at least they would get $6,500 a year if she was any kind of president. We're having a great deal of difficulty with her at this point because she's failing in her position.
At this point, when it comes down to us here in the community of Conklin, yes, she is.
You know what? I had hopes, you know, when the Métis Nation of Saskatchewan, Métis Nation of Alberta, and of course Ontario, the MNO, had broke away from the MNC and signed the agreement with self-governance. I really thought, I sort of had a glimmer of hope that, you know, they would use this as an opportunity to help Métis in their area and not just select people, because there should be no way in hell in Alberta there should be any Métis that is homeless. And like I said, I mean, Audrey should be really ashamed of herself that anybody should be homeless under, you know, her territory, whether it be in a local or Conklin or not. It's still governed by the Métis Nation of Alberta. I mean, she should be ashamed of herself. She's obviously, in my opinion, is not there for the people. She seems to be there for select people. And I mean, when there's a need, you put your people first. That's why you're elected to your position of president, is to look after your people, not just select people.
And I want to reiterate the point that you said earlier. Not only, I mean, you don't even have running water, and so Audrey Portras obviously probably just needs to step down at this point if she can't take care of the Métis people there. We had hopes for her, but we're getting very disappointed with the more Métis that we talk to in Alberta. I mean, I'm just aggravated with that.
Actually, you know what, to tell you the truth, Grace, I'm appalled. I'm disgusted that you don't have running water, and there's other people like you that have to live in this condition. I mean, us Métis, we're a proud people, and we're suppressed by the Canadian government, and now to be further suppressed by our own governing body. I mean, I'm just sick to my stomach. I really am appalled. And I mean, Canada is, you know, claims to be such a great country. I mean, when you got people in the country in Alberta that don't even have running water, I mean, I just don't know what to say. I just don't.
Yes, exactly. Third world country living in right smack dab in the middle of oil industry. That is shameful. And when it comes to the Métis Nation, I've heard so many times the leadership say that we're working here to work for you. We're the grassroots people, is the reason why we are here. But yet, it's a very contradicting statement.
Well, that's a statement they have to tell the Canadian government, that they're there for you because they're going to get all them millions of dollars. And here we have a Métis in Alberta that doesn't even have running water. If you had a chance, if Audrey Portras was to listen to this right now, and you had a chance to say something to her, what would you say?
I would say that prior to the elections, you did say you were going to help the people in the community that were in the homelessness report, because you received that homelessness report prior to elections. You came to our community, you saw the living conditions of people in this community, but yet nothing has been done. There are no changes. Why is it we're not having changes, positive changes?
Yep.
Healthy living.
Absolutely.
You know, this is all stuff. Yes.
But you know what? I wonder how long the Métis Nation of Alberta president, Audrey there, I wonder how long she would go without running water, or with, you know, having to use somebody else's electricity. Do you think she would allow herself or her family members or upper executive to live in those conditions? So hearing your story, Grace, Audrey Portras, Métis Nation of Alberta president, she's not for the people. I don't care how anybody swings it. She's really a hypocrite. You make promises to your people, and then when it comes down to fulfilling the promises, you back away and you become a hypocrite, and you're selling your people out as a number to obtain funds from the government, and that's just the only way you can slice it.
But here's something that I did hear in this interview right here. What I did hear is that she is sending the money to your local, so it's getting lost between your local and the people there. So she is. I don't want to cancel her out right now. I don't want to just say, hey, Audrey, step down, whatever, because we got too many Métis-run organizations that's run by corrupt men that are committing sexual misconduct out there in the Métis communities. It's great to have a female Métis that is leading an organization. It sucks that she's failing in her duties right now. But from what you've told me, the money is making it to the locals, but it's not making it to the people. Now, as she is the president, she needs to step in and make sure now at this point, instead of giving it to that local, maybe she should just come down and issue it out to the people herself.
That could be one way of doing it. And I'd also like to invite Audrey to live the way I do. And maybe then things might change for the better for us.
That's, what?
When you yes.
That sounds like a challenge. I mean, President of Métis Nation of Alberta, why don't you step into the shoes of Grace and, walk a mile in your footsteps and see how long she will last. And I mean, it's atrocious that she's allowing you and other Métis people under her umbrella to live like in a third world country. And I mean, Grace, I mean, we're going to help in any way we can do to bring about change. And I mean, that's the purpose of having yourself and Coran on the show, so the people out there can hear real people and see that the struggle, it's real.
Yes, it is real. It is very real. And we're in the 20th century. I mean, people living like this was common in the 18th century.
Oh,
but
yeah.
In the 20th century, just the fact of turning on a switch to have some light, turning on a tap for running water, that should not have to be a luxury for people.
That's right. Bare necessities. But, I mean, good God.
Yes. And when I talk about, like, sure, I live in a camper. I've put an addition on here. I've made it as homey as I can. Wintertime, it's not the greatest. It is very cold. I've had pictures. I've shown pictures to people with 3 inches of frost on the inside of my window because it's so cold. And, I still consider myself homeless. I live on a family member's property.
Right. And
now, what's to say this family member doesn't want me here anymore? Knowing that there is nothing available for us out there.
Yeah, no.
They could come down to my door anytime they want and say, "Okay, Grace, it's time for you to leave."
Yeah.
Yes, I consider myself homeless too.
And Grace, we're running out of time here, so we're going to have to wrap it up. Is there anything else that you would like to get out and say in this show for people that are listening?
Yes, there is more. When you asked me about the corruption within our Métis Nation, we do have more corruption, and this is something that would take more than an hour of conversation. But one of the things was just back in 2 years ago, there was a statutory declaration and authorization.
Right.
Now this was to they wanted the people in the community to sign their Métis rights to them, and the Métis Nation of Alberta would have no rights to our name.
Right.
Okay, folks, here's a copy of that letter. I want to interrupt this interview just to put this up here. We have the entire letter, okay? But they wanted everybody to sign over their individual rights as Métis in order to receive some help. Well, that's not the damn negotiation deal that the Canadian government has made with these Métis organizations. These Métis organizations get money to help their members, yet they don't help the members. The money goes for corrupt things, and a lot of the money, the millions, disappear. And here you see portions of the letter. Again, we have the whole thing, but this is a shame.
Well, it's really extortion, blackmail was used, that if you didn't sign this letter and sign over your rights, you wouldn't get your reno money. So it all comes down to extortion and blackmail.
The renovation money.
That's right.
So if you didn't sign this, you wouldn't get the renovation money, this agreement here or whatever. But let's go further into the intimidation tactics that they use. So she spoke out. Here you have a homeless Métis speaking out against the corruption that she's witnessing within Local 193 in her area there. And what do they do? What do you think they did? Okay, so obviously they did something very similar to our last guest. And I'm going to put it up on the screen here for you. Now, keep in mind, this is a homeless Métis.
No
correct?
running water.
No running water, but yet they're threatening to sue her. Look at the letter. The letter here says that she's been speaking out, basically, and they want her to remove videos, etc. like that. So this is the letter. This is an intimidation tactic. You have a Métis with no water. She's speaking out against the problems and the issues in Alberta. And what do? You threaten her. You intimidate her. Instead of giving her the money to do the things the Canadian government gave the organization the money, don't you think that you should give her the money to do what she needs to do so she can live a healthy life?
So if you're seeking truth and you're seeking answers, this could happen to you. You could be threatened with a lawsuit. If you are a member of a Métis organization, you have every right to ask questions and to receive the answers without the threat of a lawsuit, intimidation.
And again, let's take a look at her house here. This is her house. She's got no running water. They want to sue her because she's not she spoke out against the corruption. She spoke out against the things that she's seen. She has a right to speak out. Look at the lady's house. This is a damn shame. Where's the money going? What the hell is Audrey Portras doing out there?
So, Métis Nation of Alberta President Audrey Portras, you should be ashamed of yourself. Absolutely disgusting that a Métis citizen in Alberta should have to live in third world conditions, no running water.
And so Local 193, I'd highly advise you and the MNA to get on helping the homeless in Alberta, because this is unsatisfactory.
It should be Métis people before profit.
Here you'll hear Grace read the letter. Take a listen.
I am a member of or entitled for membership in Métis Nation of Alberta Association Local Council 193 Conklin, and I hereby authorize the Conklin Métis Local 193 to conduct any consultation on my behalf and on behalf of my children named above, if any. I revoke any and all other such authorizations. Now, this was handed to us, and we were told at that time that if we didn't sign, then we weren't getting our renovation money.
Wow.
I didn't sign, so that year I did not get my renovation money. And to me, this is coercion, and to me, this is against the law.
Absolutely, it's a form of blackmail.
Yeah, it is. It's blackmail and extortion. It's definitely blackmail. And that's a problem within Canada, as we found out here recently ourselves. But it is against the law. It's against federal law. And so we have many people committing federal violations. This is huge problems within the Métis community. And I know you said that this conversation couldn't be properly done justice in 1 hour. But what I would like to do is invite you back on the show in 2 weeks if you want to come. And we can talk more about the corruption.
Because we want to make sure, Grace, that you know your story is heard, yours and other people are heard, and people need to know what's really going on, not just what all these conferences and going to these meetings and flying here and there before COVID. I mean, people need to get down to the trenches and to see what's really going on in the real world, not in the fantasy world of millions of dollars and yes, I promise you, my people, I'm going to do this. We got to get out of it. We got to burst the Métis fantasy bubble, and we got to show people the reality, the everyday reality, the everyday struggles that Métis people such as yourself have to face and shouldn't have to face in this day and age in Canada, Alberta. I mean, this is the real deal, and I mean, we've got to bring people back down to earth and say, this is what's going on. We're not a third world country, but yeah, there's people that are living in third world conditions, and the Métis Nation of Alberta president should be held accountable for not looking after her people.
Yeah, like I said, the challenge is there, Audrey. You live the way I'm living right now, and let's see how fast we get something done for you if this was your living conditions. Well, you two have yourself a great day, and I thank you for inviting me to your show. I do listen to your programs, your shows, and you guys are doing an awesome job. There's so much that people need to know and hear that is not being told. The stories are not being told, and I really, really love how that you guys let people get their stories across.
We appreciate it, and it's people like you, Grace, along with us that will make a difference, and change will come, and we thank you. We're very honored to have you on our show.
I thank you very much. You have a good day, and I will be sending you these pictures here right away.
Thank you, Grace. Take care.
Thank you. Bye.
All right. Bye.
Bye-bye.
So that was Grace Richards. Grace. So that was Grace Richards with out of Alberta.
And you know what? Just like she said, we challenge the Métis Nation of Alberta President Audrey Portras to live one single day in the shoes of Grace Richards, living in a trailer, a camper on a family member's property, no running water, and having to use electricity from somebody else. That's your challenge, Métis Nation of Alberta. Audrey Portras, you made a promise to your people, and you have failed to fulfill that promise. There is no way anyone in Alberta, whether it be in Conklin or anywhere else, should be living in third world living conditions. Audrey Portras, you should be ashamed of yourself. You're not a leader for the people. It would appear you are a leader for the money.
Well, you know, again, I'm just going to say that it is making it to the local. It's just not making it to the people. We don't want to roll her out right now.
Grace said that actually she viewed Audrey Portras viewed the conditions in the community and still has done nothing.
Well, yeah. Then I guess we need to contact Portras and find out why in the hell she's not doing anything out there, and maybe try to set up an interview and see if she can explain why she's. But they're going to dodge. They all dodge because they don't want to answer the tough questions.